gaming content? Oh no, not yet. We have a Jubilee panel to watch. Men's rights versus feminism. Is toxic masculinity real?
Hello everyone, welcome. Thank you for tuning in for Middle
I'm here to make you all feel pain.
Ground, which is all about disagreeing and having a dialogue. That's right.
Feminism is fairness.
When you hear the word feminism, what comes to mind?
Marxism?
To me, feminism is fairness.
I think that it's unfortunately misguided.
Feminism is a flawed movement.
When you hear the phrase men's rights, what comes to mind?
Aggression.
Advocating for the human rights of man as a class.
I start laughing.
What do you hope to get from the conversation today?
I would hope to get some insight and probably, if anything, agree on a lot more than disagreeing.
I actually hope to get a little bit more understanding of why some men think this way.
Do you think there's middle ground between men's rights activists and feminism?
We'll see.
Hi, my name is Zach, and I am 24 years old.
This is Chris. I'm a PhD student at the University of Southern California, and I'm also a Title IX specialist who challenges discrimination against men on college campuses. And I'm 30 years old.
I have high hopes for Zach. I hope Zach comes out of this just being like, wow, I've really learned a lot from talking to 3 women on this issue. I guess I've changed. I've grown a lot. That's what I hope for our buff chat. Okay, is this a blind date? Kinda.
Hi, I'm Derek. I also go by Brendio. I'm a YouTuber, and I'm also known as an incel. Which is
Wait, Brendio? A YouTuber? Is this the guy? Bumblebee boy? Wait, okay, yep, okay, this must be him.
completely ignorant.
I think? What? Alright, I don't care. That is an incel page. Alright, you know what? I'll try one more time, okay?
Completely
eliminated. Give up your land. Domesticated. Since we are animals, we are primitive, we have many dysgenic traits that we cannot rely to lead to good outcomes outside of a domestic environment, lifestyle, or society. We create.
Okay, this guy is definitely like a doomer Nazi. Was that Chuck E. Cheese? It was something, alright.
Is an involuntarily celibate.
Hi, my name is Alicia. I am a writer, poet, and teaching artist.
Hi.
By the way, imagine introducing yourself as involuntarily incelibate. That feels real weird to me.
I currently work in the pet health industry, and I'm 30.
I'm 24. I'm a graduate student with a degree in health sciences, and I'm excited to be here today.
Can I get my men's rights activists in the left and my feminists on the right? You step forward if this statement is true for you. I believe men and women are different but equal.
Oh no.
I know as a woman that I don't have the same physical strengths. Men and women are built differently. I think whenever things are built differently, it's for a reason, right? But at the same time, the amount of limits that have been put on women historically, like the fact that not too long ago we were just allowed to start voting. Even today, like the wage gap, just all types of stuff. Like women just don't have a lot of rights that are just, it should have nothing to do with what gender we are to be able to be paid equally or just be treated with respect. So, yeah.
I do believe that, of course, there are biological differences between men and women. And of course, there should also be legal equality. Of course, I disagree with the idea that women face systemic discrimination. You just mentioned the wage gap, which has been debunked so many times.
I've studied.
Wait, damn it.
Between men and women. And of course, there should.
Okay. Wanted to do this. Yo, come on now, dude. Whoever created the about section here literally just links to Wikipedia. I mean, that's fine. It's just not, like, great.
Should also be legal equality. Of course, I disagree with the idea that women face systemic discrimination. You just mentioned the wage gap, which has been debunked so many times.
I've studied.
I mean, using Wikipedia is fine on the fly. I would just never link to Wikipedia as, like, a source for, like, if we were talking about the gender pay gap, I'd never be like, there's a Wikipedia article on it, you know? Like, I don't know, link to a study from the Wikipedia article. Like, go the extra step.
Evolutionary biology quite a bit. And men and women are very different from not just a physical, the bone structure, the neurological department as well as the chemical balances. And also, I don't believe that men and women are equal under the law either, or they should be rather. Children are not equal under the law. And it's not because we hate children, it's because we love.
Yo. Is he arguing that women are basically children under the law? Yo.
them and we want to protect them.
So if
he's in danger,
you believe we're not equal, then that you're inferring that one would be greater than the other.
Well, so let me
so that's
chime
what
in
I'm
with my
trying to-
perspective.
yeah.
As far as not being equal, I don't think that necessarily means inferior or superior. When it comes to certain things like roles like childbearing, a woman is going to be far more productive and a lot more nurturing than, say, a man. And when it comes to doing a lot more of the heavy lifting and the work, a man is probably going to be more suited for that role. And I don't think that makes them any better or worse. We are just built, created, and born different.
I would also like to elaborate. I am not saying that they are worse overall or better overall.
They complement
like
each other.
Like he said, yeah, they do.
They complement each other beautifully.
They work very well together.
We
when
need
they
each other
for
offspring. I mean, that's
we need each other to fuck.
That's part of the beauty of it, and I think trying to equalize them and make them the same and, transition and all that, I don't believe is going to be the most conducive when it comes to raising children, but also just for overall well-being.
I want to note that you brought up children being unequal to adults. I just hope you weren't comparing women to children.
I mean, it was technically a comparison of women and children.
I don't need you to protect me. I just need you not to harm me. I can protect myself. I'm very capable of doing what I need to do. Okay?
Okay, sure.
100%.
Dude in his head's like, I could do 12 Rasengan's to you by the time you do anything.
I am an incel or an incel advocate, I suppose. I don't hate women at all. I think we're different and they have aspects that are superior to men as well.
By the way, notice how people are like always say like, I don't hate women. And then go on to just talk about how like women should have less civil rights. It's the same thing with like racists or white supremacists or other groups. I don't hate trans people. I just don't think they should have the same civil rights as I do. I don't hate black people. I just don't think they deserve civil rights.
It's just very contextual on the subject.
Toxic masculinity is real.
I think that toxic masculinity is definitely a real thing. It's kind of just the idea of what masculinity should be, but it goes wrong a lot of the times, saying that violence, sex, power, being a controlling person makes you a man.
I see it in very unfortunate places, like when the young men or boys in my family, even from like toddler age, are told, you shouldn't be crying, boys don't cry. And what that turns into, I see it when I'm in a bookstore and a guy who tries to get my number says, why y'all always gotta act like that? And he sincerely had this like cracking voice, like he was hurt, but it was an entitlement. And that's toxic masculinity. It's saying like, you don't realize how your behavior is harmful.
What does toxic masculinity mean? Is it character traits? Is it upbringing?
The suppression of feeling for a lot of men, because throughout childhood, they're told man up. So because of that, there's a lot of repression. Repression then is usually channeled into
Good night,
anger for some
Harry-o.
people, because
Thank
they
you for,
don't not
stopping
always know
by.
how to
I hope you
express,
stop by
because they're
again.
told not to express.
So upbringing and
That's part of
environment.
it,
Okay.
yes.
But not something that's inherently a part
No.
of men.
No.
Okay.
I think that, when you're showing your emotions, especially to like, random people, random women in some cases, they will view you as weak. I was raised by a single mother. I love her. She's my mom. I love her. But I could have used being told to act like a man. I think back, there were some cases where I was too emotional, and that negatively affected how I, what happened to me. And,
May I ask a question?
Sure.
What is your definition of weak as a man?
Not being as forward as you could be, not being as honest, or trying to be not as emotional as you don't need to be. You don't have to cry over a cut. I know sometimes cuts hurt a lot, but sometimes it's necessary to.
This guy would absolutely be sobbing if someone punched him on the nose.
Be strong for the benefit of not just yourself, but for the people around you. It's fine to act emotional in certain cases, but I don't think it's fine to act that way with a woman.
Which, by the way, is fine. If you're in pain, cry. It's literally a mechanism designed for that.
Maybe, you have a really good friend and he sees you cry, like, your best friend, and you're crying about something really personal. I think that's fine.
I feel like you're conflating two different situations, because you started off with saying a random person or even women. So it feels like, okay, this is a woman that you don't have a bond with or any type of relationship with. And then you mentioned, or in front of your best friend, that's okay to cry. Well, that woman could be your best friend. That, so.
I don't think you can be friends with a woman.
Yo, Exia, do we have an update on that? Or is IASC, is it gonna strike?
So.
Because you don't see us as equal, as you said before.
I don't think showing emotions is a sign of weakness. I actually think it's a sign of strength.
Oh, I mean, he identified as an incel, so we knew that off the bat.
Men do live shorter lives, and that's because of a repression of emotions, and that's due to many things that patriarchy has instilled.
Repression of emotions.
It has been shown that a person's well-being, their lifespan is shortened when they are not able to express their emotions. In addition, when they don't have physical
Constababble, thank you
touch,
for the follow.
or when they don't have a partner to keep them company. We are human beings here. We need to talk to each other. And if you think that our health isn't affected when you're not able to express that you are sad or upset, you're wrong. I think that men's rights activists are only men's rights activists as a response to women expressing that they want more equality. I don't think they focus on actual men's rights issues, and rather it's just an attack on women and feminism.
Today, women have more advantages than men.
When it comes to things like affirmative action, and there are certain roles that
What is this? Not to strike, to authorize the strike? So they, nobody cares. Insta just keeps going on about Squid Game. But yeah, I mean, even if it's just to authorize the strike, that's a pretty big deal. I mean, we'll see. It was pretty overwhelming to authorizing the strike too. So we'll see what ends up happening. What is this? Basically, all of the people who make Hollywood run have a union, and they just authorized a strike. So
traditionally men and women have been able to serve in, and now women can basically do all of those things, right? Because we've had such a strong advocacy for equal representation.
well, yeah, it's not going to affect cable network channels, but it doesn't have to. Like, the Hollywood machine relies on churning out these movies like clockwork.
In the workplace, whereas, for example, you'll never find a man as a midwife nurse, and I don't think it's appropriate. That's why there are those differences.
Women in like the most important parts of society have an advantage. There's a lot of positions that men simply aren't getting hired at anymore because of the fact that they're a man. And it's not just in the workforce. It's also, I would say, it's a lot easier for a woman to find a relationship, even if she says it's finding the right guy is so hard. It really isn't. But sometimes for a lot of guys, finding a girl at all is hard.
If I have to consider what I wear before stepping out the house, because I don't want to draw some type of attention, I don't know how many other men have to consider, is this outfit going to be deemed safe for me? Any situation that I've experienced where I physically felt endangered simply because I don't want to give my number out. It's part of that entitlement for men. You're not entitled a conversation with me. You're not entitled to my number.
That aside, it's like, are you going to make one example of the entitlement of men when it comes to asking for your number be the all-encompassing thing that all men have a problem when it comes to approaching women?
Well, firstly, it's not just an example. It's not necessarily all men. I don't dislike men. I love sports, I play video games, I have bros, I hang out with dudes. We just want men to realize that if you have friends that are having locker room talk, as a man, as an ally, please say
Yo, this guy about to say something bad. I can feel it in my bones.
something to your friends.
Do you think repressing that is really the solution here, though? If it's in a healthy male space.
I don't think that's healthy. I think it's toxic in itself.
I mean, if you're making jokes and you're doing all of that.
Jokes that are harmful jokes are not healthy.
Jokes at the expense of people who just aren't there. It's fine. This guy's like, bro, it's fine to make racist jokes as long as the minority is not around.
Because they just lead to people normalizing things. People always say, oh, it's just a joke. But when someone else hears it, they don't realize how that resonates. And again, how that turns into violence. Like, this is not an isolated situation. I'm only thinking of 3 off the top of my head, because if I think of too many, I'm gonna spiral
so
right now.
So what's the alternative? Men shouldn't talk about these things.
No, I think men can have a healthy
that.
dialogue. I don't think men have to be toxic in order to have a conversation. I know plenty of men that are able to have conversations about healthy, productive things, just like women are.
Well, it's not obviously something that I have personal experience with, but only 1% of all people on the death row are women in this country. So when women and men commit identical crimes, women are much more likely to, for example, escape the death penalty. And
This is true, but maybe we should just not have the death penalty. Hey, Gatsby Cat.
just plain sex-based discrimination.
That I agree on.
That's true.
I feel like this guy reminds me of a YouTuber. Like, is it maybe JF? Is JF like the French eugenicist guy? Do you guys know who I'm talking about? Yeah, JF. Is it just me?
True. Look, I'm thinking about basic needs, like around the globe, the women who
JF is a pedo?
don't even have like proper like sanitary like products.
I mean, I have to agree. Just small things like a tax on a box of tampons. Do you think I choose to do this monthly? No. Trust me. So why should I have to pay taxes when this is a medical necessity?
We're just like dismissed. A lot of our symptoms,
Based. No taxes on any medical goods.
a lot of the things we report, especially women of color, but women across the board, are just treated a lot less equally.
I'd say
Yo, JF tried to forcibly marry a person with a developmental disability. Yo. And she was a minor? Oh.
that I'm an advocate for what I believe the role that men play in society. I believe that their views should be expressed openly, that they should be given a platform to do so, and I believed in men unapologetically and unashamedly being men as we were created.
I think in my heart that there are things that men are entitled to. I am all about human rights, and I do consider the rights of every human, but every time I hear of a men's rights activist, I hear anger and I hear very illogical reasoning, and it just boils my blood because it's a setback for all of us.
Good.
I feel that the other side does not understand my values.
Oh dear.
I think a lot of times when a movement is created, the other side thinks that they're being attacked or think that it's some like attempt at erasure. That's not what feminism is about at all. What do you need a whole men's rights activism movement for? I'm sincerely confused.
Well, I mean, like, I will advocate for positive masculinity and what men should represent and healthy outlets for men. Like, I still think the Boy Scouts should be exclusively the Boy Scouts, for example, one of those things.
I mean, why though? Why shouldn't the Boy Scouts also have girls? Would that not help them to learn how to socialize appropriately? Also, yes, the Boy Scouts was a hellhole for child assault. Absolutely. Maybe disband the Boy Scouts. Start with something different.
Things. Where I would like to think that we could get some common ground is when it
Sailor
comes to the clear
Scouts.
biases that are in the court system, especially in the marriage and family court system, right? And right
true.
there is what I would advocate for when it comes to men's rights.
The things that stand valid, like that I'm hearing from y'all that are like valid to me, come from a place of like, I'm treated like unfairly by the system. Versus a lot of the things women are saying, it's also America and the system as well, but a lot of it is like harm from men.
How and where?
How and where what?
Where's this harm from men coming from?
Okay, it started when I was young. I'm not gonna talk too long. I was 16, got a bottle thrown at me because I told a boy no. It started when I was in a club, a boy touched me. I said no, he kept touching me. It got to the point he got violent. It gets to the point that the only reason why a man decided to stop touching me in the bookstore I talked about earlier is because he realized my husband was not too far away. And he said, sorry, bro, never said sorry to me. That's why, and that's off the top of my head. This is why I get upset, because I'm like, I'm here to talk about like how you feel, but when you just dismiss the fact that women actually have experiences, that's when it seems like it's about more than your rights. It seems like it's about your ego. And that's where I get pissed off, because how dare you tell another human being that their experiences, what they're telling you right in front of your face, is not valid.
I didn't say they were invalid, I said.
Well, you immediately asked how in an extremely defensive way, and she went off on you, and you deserved it.
How and why? I'm trying to understand.
How and why?
listen.
Because it happened. It happened many times. It happened yesterday. It
why I'm
happened the day
here.
before.
Okay, I think some of the things that you guys are touching on, such as the court system and gender roles, are a subject of patriarchy, and that's part of what women are trying to dismantle, is those traditional gender roles.
Are there any
Very
feminist
systemic.
organizations that have done anything, for example, to challenge bias against men and fathers in
Yes,
the family court system?
absolutely.
Can you please give me like a list of feminist advocacy organizations
Look.
that have engaged
You're a feminist? List the top 5.
in any meaningful advocacy to address those issues? Because there are actually none.
Okay, I know that you came with your little research or whatever. I didn't come with a list of like feminist organizations, but I know actively that there are women's organizations that are trying to dismantle those inequalities.
Just one name, just one
Again, I
organization.
didn't come with a list, my dude.
There are no such organizations.
Again,
In what ways are men's rights at risk?
I think there has been significant progress over the last decade or so, especially in the legal field, but I think there are still significant disparities that need to be addressed, such as
there's literally an organization called No Mas, which is again, you can like Google this. Here, I Googled feminist organizations that fight for men's rights. I mean, there's 25 from the UN. The Men Engage Alliance. I don't know. There's No Mas, National Organization for Men Against Sexism. It's a pro-feminist, gay affirmative, anti-racist organization. Like, no, there's a bunch of feminist organizations that fight for men specifically.
Poor health conditions, bias against men in the criminal justice system, bias against men in family courts, and bias against men in the educational system, especially in colleges.
Men and women should be allies.
Men, unfortunately, many of them don't want to even have this open dialogue that we're sharing right now. We need men to help be allies, to help speak to other men.
It strikes me like the way you phrase this, you almost want men to say certain things that you want them to say, as opposed to maybe actually listening to what they're saying.
What certain things would I want to hear?
Just kind of like men being allies, men talking to other men, etc. I'm completely okay with that, but I'm not going to repeat like feminist talking points to other men.
We all believe different things. We may be under the label of men's rights activists, but for example, I'm probably the most traditionalist person here. I think we should be allies, but maybe us being
traditionalist. Okay, dude.
Allies in a patriarchy wouldn't be so bad. You know, us going back to the past wouldn't be so bad. It would probably be a lot.
Oh, my dude. My dude. If these cameras weren't on, you'd be mauled by these women.
A lot happier if we were, you know, getting married and staying married and having kids and, you know, going to church and all that, la-di-da-di-da.
While speaking to the three of you, I feel like you're each coming from different perspectives. So it's hard to, you know, again, just like our perspectives, it's hard to generalize. So to me, I feel like there are certain things that, even though we're not fully agreeing on it, things may get lost in translation, our verbiage may not be 100% correct, that we could at least agree on.
Can I ask one question? What would you envision would be the ideal man with the end goal of feminism as far as educating men or working to dismantle whatever patriarchy is? Like, what does that man look like?
It starts with childhood. We have to teach children as well as girls, because we're also taught, because of toxic masculinity, what a man should be as well.
I think that we just need to hold men accountable. In order to kind of make progress, we need help from people that will listen. Because let's be real, when we express our concerns, a lot of men refuse to listen, but they would be more likely to listen to another man.
Do you also feel like
this is true, by the way? There are biases at work in our society that men listen more to other men. This is prevalent in the Twitch politics space. But also, and this is, by the way, just as a general rule, there are definitely men who listen to women, just as a general rule of thumb, you know? And especially in like highly isolated or highly diversified environments, it can help if the message is coming from like one of your own, right? Like a feminist tends to be able to meet a fellow feminist on familiar territory, you know? Threw back some aspirin, ate a small roll. Good, Archangel. I've been worried about you, okay?
you have an ethical obligation to challenge other women or other feminists when, for example, they deny that men face discrimination?
When it comes to things like, oh, men can't be abused, I've had this conversation with another woman, and it's the idea that just because a man may be physically stronger than us, does that mean they cannot be abused. And because of that, again, fairness, women need to be held accountable as well. I want to understand their viewpoint. As a woman and a woman of color, I know how it feels to be disenfranchised.
Well, I mean, first off, unfortunately, Taniwa, it's not a straw man. There are a lot of women who also buy into patriarchal ideas of gender. I've definitely heard both men and women talk about how, like, men can't be raped. Like, yeah. And, yeah, people need to have their own discussions amongst themselves. Or I think you know what I mean. This was a huge factor in the Anna situation. Yeah, I'm first in line to say that Destiny's a giant asshole, but, like, he doesn't deserve to be stalked and harassed and, like, that's not cool because he doesn't want to sleep with someone. That should just be the end of it.
So I want to understand why they feel the need to have a men's rights movement.
I feel empathy for the other side.
I don't think there's ever a time in my life where a person says they're hurting and I don't at least try to listen or understand. My only thing is that I want the same in return. So when I'm genuinely saying I'm hurting or I've been through something, and it's not just a personal experience, because I actively do this work and surround myself with women saying I've been hurt by a man before. I get that you have stories, but I mean, that's actually my question. I haven't heard y'all stories. Like, I've sat up here and said I have 3 on the top of my head. I have about 30 plus probably. And I haven't heard y'all say, this is what happened to me.
I don't think that I'll ever invalidate a woman's feelings when she says, hey, I've been abused or whatnot. I don't think any of us here are rightfully saying that. But I think what's dangerous is when emotional testimony that may not always be what it is gets, create
emotional testimony that might not always be what it is. Yeah, you weren't really sexually harassed. You weren't really abused. You just thought you were.
It's bias, right?
Okay, I feel empathy for women being lost, being misguided. Look.
What?
I don't know.
Yo, he knows exactly what he's about to say. He's about to dig himself an even deeper hole. I can feel it.
You can go.
Do you have any bit of empathy for anything we said up here?
Yes, I really do feel empathy for
Why was that so hard to say? Like, for the stuff that we said, do you have any bit of empathy for the stories I said up here?
Yeah,
I just want to know.
I do.
Like, I'm not even trying to be hostile. I just genuinely want to know.
Yeah, I just think that, like, a lot of the problems that have happened in your life are because society is not patriarchal. It's not traditional. It's we're gone. We're lost. We're in a fallen state, right?
There is a change of guard, not necessarily a change of guard, but things are evolving. Things are changing.
I mean, you wouldn't have even had to have to peep his channel to learn that he's an incel. Peeping his channel revealed that he's probably a Nazi. But also, like, he said at the beginning of this video that he's an incel. He identifies as an incel.
And I feel like a lot of men speak from a viewpoint almost of fear. A lot of men are having a hard time grasping that and feeling comfortable with it.
I do feel empathy for your personal experience, but I cannot sympathize with your ideological position, because that ideological position is built on a fallacy. And that fallacy is actually causing
What fallacy?
Very real consequences for men as a class in this country. So I understand that you are here with us as kind of the good feminist, so to speak, that you feel empathy for men, and I believe you, but I do not believe your movement, and I do not believe your ideology.
All right, we'll leave it at that. That's a wrap, guys.
I'm sweaty.
Okay.
They really didn't want to shake hands.
articulate.
Oh, thank
you.
And so are you.
Yes,
Thank
so
you.
are
I've been
you.
with Turkey for a long time.
Thanks for your
Appreciate
time.
it.
Okay. Wow, that was interesting.
Which guy is Hans without the muscles? Can I get a link to this? Sure can. Here you go, friendo. I had high hopes for our Chad Zach. I thought he was gonna come out Chadlier, you know? Unfortunately, we did not. Feminists waste an afternoon. I mean, hopefully it's not a waste. You know, I hope that every interaction like this kind of results in somebody in the audience changing their mind. You know, I hope that when I talk about these issues, that changes somebody's mind.